You don't just own an iPhone. You own an iPhone that syncs with your Mac, which auto-connects to your AirPods, and updates through iCloud, and also it pays for coffee with your watch. Welcome to the Apple ecosystem. Sleek, seamless, and nearly impossible to leave. This is the walled garden. Apple started as a computer company, but it became something much bigger. A hardware maker, a software designer, a services provider, and most importantly, a closed loop. Every Apple product is engineered to work best with other Apple products. And while this makes things smooth, it also makes them a little sticky. The iPhone changed everything. Since 2007, it's become the centerpiece of Apple's strategy. Not just a device, but a gateway into the ecosystem. With iMessage, FaceTime, AirDrop, and iOS-only apps, Apple keeps you in its world. Try switching to Android and you'll feel it. Blue bubbles vanish, syncing breaks, and your photos are probably trapped in iCloud. Then came Apple Silicon. Custom chips built in-house. The M1, M2, M3, and beyond. Suddenly, Macs weren't just stylish. They were powerhouses with world-class battery life. By owning the hardware and the silicon, Apple took back control and ditched Intel along the way. This led to more performance, more efficiency, and more lock-in. Then there's Siri, Apple's not-so-secret weapon in the smart assistant wars. It may not be as flashy as Alexa or ChatGPT, but it's deeply embedded in all your devices. There's iCloud, managing your files, messages, passwords, backup, and making sure everything stays in sync. And it is in Apple's hands. We end here on Siri, without getting too caught up in the mess of unfulfilled promises with Apple Intelligence.
Siri should be as good, if not better, than the competition.
Oh, I think ultimately it should be. That's certainly.
But it's not right now.
Moving on, and let's not forget Beats, the headphone giant Apple bought in 2014 for $3 billion US. Apple didn't just buy headphones. They essentially bought Beats music streaming services. Because at the time, Apple's own iTunes music downloads were declining, and they needed a strong entry into the booming music streaming market. They also bought talent and industry connections, seeing as Dr. Dre and, let me get this right, Jimmy Iovine. I probably butchered that. Anyway, the pair brought invaluable relationships within the music industry. And most importantly, they bought brand recognition and the cool factor. Apple doesn't just sell hardware anymore. It sells subscriptions. Apple Music, Apple Arcade, Apple TV Plus, iCloud, Apple News, Apple Fitness. I think you get the point. And all this is tied in one neat bundle, Apple One. With recurring revenue and predictable profits, you're not just buying a phone, you're renting a lifestyle. And here's the twist. Apple's most powerful marketing weapon is privacy. Tim Cook frames Apple as the anti-Facebook. No ad tracking, no data brokering, no shady algorithms. But critics say this is more than morality. It's platform control disguised as virtue. Here's the essential point. While Apple champions privacy, critics argue their stance also serves as a strategic business move. Features like app tracking transparency make it harder for other companies, particularly those like Meta that rely on advertising to track users and deliver personalized ads. This shift disproportionately impacts competitors because Apple's revenue comes primarily from hardware and services, not advertising. So in essence, it strengthens Apple's ecosystem, potentially steering more ad revenue towards their own platform where they control the rules. So, is it pure altruism or a brilliant strategy that weakens rivals while burnishing Apple's image? The reality is likely a mix of both. So, is Apple a champion of design and privacy, or a closed-loop empire that trades freedom for convenience? Maybe both. Either way, once you're in the garden, it's almost impossible to leave. Drop your comment. Are you Team Apple or just trapped?